Hi, I'm Dave Crane, and I want to share with you some insights about becoming an industry icon. And it's based on watching a documentary yesterday called The Sparks Brothers. Now, the Sparks Brothers have been around and known as Sparks for the best part of 50 plus years. In fact, they're in their 70s, mid to late 70s, and have been pop stars for as far back as I can remember. The two of them, Russell, the singer, and Ron, the keyboard player, are iconic because Russell's flamboyant, really good looking, dancing, singing, throwing himself around the stage with a really high falsetto voice when he decides to bring it out. And Ron looks like a cross between Adolf Hitler, Charlie Chaplin, and a guy who really doesn't want to be there. But that's all part of their mystique and their charm. Now, as I'm talking about Sparks, I know that you're probably going, I don't know who you're talking about, but there are people who now are going, yeah, I know them, I remember them. Because what they've done is popped up throughout our musical history with songs that did really well, and then disappear again. But they never disappeared. They kept going, but sometimes the flavour of the art that they produce is not in line with what goes on in the charts. That doesn't mean that they've ever changed. They've never changed. But they have evolved. So when they've changed their art to suit where they want to go next. Like Prince, like Madonna, but not to fit in with charts. So why is that relevant? Well, most bands tend to last 5 to 10 years if they've done really well. 3 albums, a painful fourth, and a greatest hits is your average band that's done really well, and then they go on tour, many cases with that one big hit and some also songs that you go, okay. Sparks have had 25 albums and over 300 songs. Now, you might not remember them, but if you Google them, you'll hear them. I'm not going to play them here for obvious copyright reasons, but songs like When Do I Get to Sing My Way and the number 1 song in heaven, and This Town Ain't Big Enough for the Both of Us, and Beat the Clock are iconic songs. Now, you may say, no, Dave, I'm not convinced. But here's the thing. You may have heard of Duran Duran or Erasure or the Red Hot Chilli Peppers. These are all bands who look at Sparks as their idols. They learned their craft from watching Sparks on stage. Kraftwerk, who you may know from the 70s, who were like the pioneering electro-pop band. Again, their stuff is so similar to what you hear from Sparks, but Sparks were a glam rock group when they first started off. In fact, they were called Half Nelson, and they changed their name to be like the Sparks Brothers, taken from the Marx Brothers, because Half Nelson was producing great stuff, but they thought it might be the name that's not working. Now, as you watch this documentary, and I'd urge you to watch it because it's fascinating for anybody who's going through a challenge right now about who you are, what you do. The thing that they give you as a lesson, and this is why it really spoke to me so much, is pursue your art. And it doesn't matter if you're a musician or an entertainer or a speaker, artist, it doesn't matter. You could be a plumber, you could be an accountant, you could be a graphic designer, you could be a lawyer. But treat it as art and evolve all the time, growing and adding new technology, new stuff. And it sometimes means that people don't get you. Sparks were perceived by most people as a British band, not as an American band. They had to go to Britain to become famous. Then they went back to America and got ignored again because they're kind of weird. Because sometimes Ron, the guy with the little moustache, would wear a dress on videos or whatever it would be, because that was their art evolving and doing it. Of course, many people didn't like that, but British would kind of laugh because it was their band and that's kind of what they're doing. But they made it big all around the world, eventually making it big as well in the US, and featured on Dick Clark's Bandstand and lots of shows like that. They're still going strong. And I would urge you, if you're wanting to spend 2 hours wondering where you go and what you do and why people don't understand it and why you should stick to your guns, this is the documentary for you, the Sparks Brothers. There's one bit in particular that really hit me about the fact that they went for a period of time where obviously grunge was big, 90s or so on, and the music they were doing just didn't fit in with it. So they spent about 6 years of nothing coming in. No record company would touch them. They couldn't do any promo stuff. They're trying to get films made, movies made with Tim Burton and Jacques Tati and other people, but it just never actually came off. But they pursued their art, and during those 6 years, they survived on the fact that they didn't blow all their money on drugs and rock and roll. They put some aside because it wasn't about the party, it was about growing their art. So for 6 years, without any financial help, they carried on, and every single day, 7 days a week, from 9 until 7 at night, they made music and evolved their craft. They worked with legendary producers like Giorgio Moroder, and that's going way back to the 70s. But if you know Giorgio Moroder, responsible for the likes of I Feel Love with Donna Summer and Together in Electric Dreams of Phil Oakey, and basically inventing the Euro pop stroke disco stroke house scene in many ways. And you know how legendary and iconic his name is to be attached to people like these guys. They were chanters when they first started off. When they first started working with Giorgio Moroder, they'd never actually met him. They just said that they're going to work with him to somebody who knew him and said, "Oh, well, I know him really well. Do you want an introduction?" And they went, "Oh, okay." So whoever you are, whatever you're doing, just because it's not working for you right now doesn't mean it's not going to work. This is about longevity. These guys have been going 50 years, up and down, good times, bad times, but they never keep pushing who they are. They never forgot who they were, even to the point that in the 90s, when they started launching new music that they were creating, they were getting ripped off by radio stations who were saying, "Look at these guys, they're so derivative, they sound like so many other bands," without understanding that the other bands learned their craft by watching Sparks and seeing how to do it properly. So it's available, I think it's available on Netflix, but certainly you might have to look it up for wherever you can get hold of it. But I would urge you, if you remember Sparks, it's a great documentary. It's done by Edgar Wright, responsible for producing and directing, and in fact writing the Cornetto trilogy. So that's with Simon Pegg and Nick Frost. Did you see Shaun of the Dead? Or Hot Fuzz, The End of the World. He's the director of that, and Baby, I can't remember, Baby Run I think it's called. But anyway, it doesn't matter. The point is, he's a great director, it's a great thing to watch, and while they're still alive and still with us and carving up this incredible music in their mid to late 70s, you should watch what they're doing, because it doesn't matter what industry you're in and what you're doing. These guys are industry icons, and you can be too. And to be honest with you, you should. Have an amazing day. And I hope that your career rocks as much as Sparks.